Jennifer, thanks so much for doing this. Really appreciate it. Tell me about your business. Tell me where you are located. I'm not sure that matters for your business, but tell me about what you do. Give me your website address and Instagram and all that good stuff.
Sure. Well, thank you so much, Shane, for having me on today. I really appreciate it. I have been using your data for a very, very long time.
Thank you.
So yeah, and it's wonderful. I always share that with my clients. So my name is Jen. I'm the founder of Jennifer Lynn Consulting. And what I do is I help wedding professionals and creatives grow their business, basically help them get booked out with more weddings, with clients that they love working with, and to basically help them stop, having to reduce their prices, offer discounts, those types of things, and really, bring in their ideal clients.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
what made you get started in this part of the business? Did you work in the wedding industry prior to this?
I did, yes. So kind of a long story. I'll try to keep it as concise as possible.
Yeah, no worries.
But yeah, so back in 2007, I got married in 2007, and I had trouble finding a traveling makeup artist who was willing to come out and do makeup for a daytime wedding, because they'd have to get up at the crack of dawn, and there really weren't many traveling makeup artists at the time. And I had never, used one before, but I was excited about it. And I just couldn't find anybody. And so I eventually did end up finding someone. And I just wasn't pleased with the whole experience. And so at that time, I was working in corporate America in sales and marketing. And, I basically, the company that I was working for had a generic patent infringement. It was a pharmaceutical company. And so I had started a new job. I had a brand new baby, like honeymoon baby, if you ever heard the story. So a lot of changes. But I ended up changing positions and took another position where I got laid off because of that. And so I was home with my daughter, my first daughter. And I just said, you know what, there's got to be a better way. How come nobody's thought of this,
Yeah.
And I had always had a passion for beauty and wedding. Obviously, I'd just been through the whole wedding experience.
Yeah.
And so I said, why not me? So I started working with some clients, a lot of events and whatnot. And basically took that makeup artistry business from zero to booked out, a couple of years in advance.
Wow.
From an completely unknown, to the hot ticket, like everybody was, trying to get in with me. And so basically what I did is I combined my experience in corporate America with online marketing and, the wedding industry, and, learned SEO and how to build a website and all this stuff back, before it was as easy to do as it is today.
Yeah.
But I was getting 15 inquiries a day, and I just couldn't handle the load of clients that were wanting to work with me. And I just remember looking around at, some of the other vendors that I was working with and I was friends with, and they said, Jen, how are you doing this? How did you get all these clients so fast, And so it just kind of stuck with me. And I just saw that they had so much talent. They were so amazing at what they did. And to be quite honest, a lot of them were probably better than I was at the craft. But because I had the business background, I was able to, get it off the ground a lot faster. And I just said, man, I wish somebody could help, people that just didn't have the business education to do that. And so fast forward years later, I ended up going back into corporate because I had a couple of herniated discs in my neck and I couldn't do makeup anymore, just standing over people all day. I was working with very, very large name. For privacy purposes, I can't say who it was. but really, really big names, and was working on photo shoots and books, and working with national wedding planners and event planners. But I couldn't do it anymore because of the neck issue. And I was like, oh man, this stinks. It's like,
Yeah.
I just loved, doing, it wasn't work to me. I loved doing what I was doing. So went back to corporate, ended up getting misdiagnosed with Lyme disease. They kept giving me all of these different diagnoses,
Wow.
and could not get a straight answer from a single doctor. And I was, literally bedbound for like 4 months.
Oh, wow.
And I just remember like looking up at the ceiling and saying like, what do I need to do? Like, there was
Yeah.
just, I sensed that there was something more. And I just got this, feeling like I need to do more. I need to be more and help people in a different way.
Yeah.
And I went back, thinking back to my days in the wedding industry, and I'm like, oh, I could help them,
Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't realize there was a way for me to be able to do that outside of traditional, like running an ad agency or something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, I started, getting back into learning online marketing, keeping up with SEO, and discovered this opportunity to be a mentor to help wedding professionals grow their business. And I'm just so grateful that I have such amazing clients to work with now, and I get to see them grow as in themselves, but also in their business. So yeah.
That's great. That's great that you took your experience from taking your business to nothing and growing it, and then took that into something that could help other people. It's funny because when you get into a situation where your health becomes a problem, you can no longer
Yes.
do the thing you like to do. What do you do? I know. I mean, I've been there. Early '90s, similar thing happened to me. But it's like, how do you get into something else and do something else that you like, right?
Right.
After being
Right.
in something you love so much, and then have to make a change, to survive. Really, is what it boils down to. Um,
Yeah.
so I personally know the importance of having coaches and mentors. I have my own coaches and mentors for various different things. I think it's essential for you as an individual to grow, to be able to do that. So tell me, people that are looking, let's go back. Maybe people that don't know anything about why you would need a coach or why you would need a mentor. What would you say to them as like, what's the reason?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, the main reason is when you're A, struggling to grow, whether that's personally or professionally in your business. B, if you just want to take your business and yourself to the next level. Really, those are the two types of most common things that I see. And, basically it's like having literally a mentor, like a best, business friend in your back pocket,
Yeah.
who, when you're learning all of these things that are going on with, with social media and online marketing and networking and growing your business with so much noise and this crowded market, it's great to have somebody who's been there and done that, and has had success doing it, and has put together basically all of the pieces of the puzzle so that you're not, you don't get stuck at the next level.
Yeah. Do you also feel like it's like they also help you like focus on the important things? Because,
Oh yeah.
as a small business owner, there's so many things that we could be doing, right? I mean, there's marketing, there's this, there's, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
I find trouble focusing sometimes. And so the nice thing is, my coach will say, look, what in the net for the next 2 weeks, this is what you're focusing on. Right? Like, you focus on this right here. When you're done with that, then we'll work on the next step. But you got to focus on this, and they hold you
Exactly.
accountable for it when you're at the next
Yes.
meeting, right? Like, so
That's huge. Yeah. I mean, we all are, guilty of that. I think, we have the best intentions, but unless we make ourselves accountable in some way, or,
Yeah.
to have a mentor or a coach who can really hold you to it. That's when you see those huge leaps in improvement in your life and your business.
Yeah. I find that, for me, like if if there, I have the shiny object syndrome. So the next
Yes.
new shiny object, like, oh, hey, look at that over here. I mean, literally, I could be programming something and something pops into my mind, and then I'm like over here looking at that, right? It's just
Yep.
crazy. So it's,
Guilty.
yeah, it's difficult to focus sometimes, I think. And, having someone like keep you on focus
Mhm.
is, I mean, I don't know. I've found personally that that's probably one of the top benefits of having a coach or a mentor, is just to kind of like keep you focused on the important stuff.
Mhm.
So what if you were going to go find, I mean, what questions should people be asking? Um, maybe they don't know that there's a coach around. Where can they start, number one? And then what would be questions they should ask ask someone that could be a potential coach or mentor for
Yeah. So there's a couple pieces with that. And I went through this myself over the last 10 years. I started out with the shiny object syndrome, buying courses on how to do X, Y, and Z, Facebook ads, social media. And I just kept buying and buying and buying all of these courses. And I'd get stuck inevitably at some point.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, who do I call? is there, because these courses didn't include any of the hand holding and the one-on-one
Right.
and
Yeah.
helping you get through the next step. It can be complicated. So I think one of the most important things is to, there's a couple ways you can look on social media. Obviously, that's one way. There are a lot of great Facebook groups out there where, business professionals or entrepreneurs can look for free trainings, really.
Hmm.
A lot of great information. You get to know the person who's leading the group. A lot of times they provide free trainings. So you kind of get a sense of like, okay, what's this person about? How are they going to help me with my business and
Yeah.
my life? And do I like their teaching style? Is this somebody I would like to work with?
Hmm.
And so you can really get to know them kind of behind the scenes that way. Or sometimes, you'll know right away. You watch a couple of videos and you're like, oh, that's the one for me.
Hmm.
Hop on the phone with them, and typically we'll go through a series of questions for, on the mentors and asking, like where are you struggling? What's causing those struggles? What are the roadblocks? What are the obstacles? What are your goals? What do you want to happen, within a certain container of time? And so I think, understanding the connection and the relationship that you have with the mentor or coach is really important, but also, do they have real life experience?
Yeah.
Have they actually done this before? Or are they just throwing up, you know, for example, a coach who's only sold coaching online? Well, it's,
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like they don't have the actual experience in real
Yeah.
life. So I think that real life experience is really important.
Yeah, that's interesting because in today's world, so obviously everyone has to start somewhere, right? You're a new
Right.
photographer, you're a new DJ, you're a new planner, whatever. You got to start somewhere, get into the business and start. So you're new, maybe you have some experience as a photographer and you've done it for 20 years and now you want to be a coach,
Right.
so now you're getting started as a coach. Well, yeah, I mean, you got to start somewhere. How do you get started? That sort of thing. But I think
Yeah.
what you said is true. Like anyone can just throw a bunch of, like, it's like when couples are looking for people to do services for their wedding, it's very easy for them to get distracted with pretty pictures and whatever and not
Right.
understand the details behind it. Do you feel like coaches are offering like a free trial, like sometimes not necessarily free trial, but like, let me try you out for a couple months, see if you can help
Mhm.
me. Don't put me into some contract thing where I got to be with you for 12 months. Because if it doesn't work
Right.
out, I don't want to be stuck paying you. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it depends on the person. Everybody does it very differently. Um, it's a little bit of the wild Wild West right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, typically coaches or mentors will work in like 3, 6, 12-month packages, because ultimately it doesn't happen overnight. These changes don't happen overnight. And that's why you're hiring the mentor.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So what questions should they be asking when they're looking for a coach or a mentor?
what questions should they be asking of the
Yeah, the code,
mentor?
like if I'm looking for a coach, what questions should I be asking you to make sure we're a good fit?
For me, it's more about, the content that I've seen them put out in the past. And then if the connection is there, if basically if you vibe and you just feel like, okay, I can be completely myself, I can be upfront and honest and, cop to things that I'm putting off.
Yeah.
Do you feel comfortable around that person, and that they're going to hold you accountable, and that they're going to push you to the next level, and have the background to back it up as well?
Do you feel like there's like a trust factor too with them being
Oh
completely
yeah.
honest? Like they have to feel comfortable enough to be completely honest with you about everything that's going on. Because honestly, if even with like a fitness coach, you have to be honest with them about
Hmm.
what you're eating. You have to be honest with them about your routines.
Right.
If you want to reach your goal. Otherwise, oh, I didn't tell them I had a whole half a thing of ice cream yesterday, and whatever.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
Yeah, that's so important. The trust factor is so important, and not everybody's like that. Um, but for me, one of my main values is integrity, and trust. And so I only work with a very small number of clients at a time, because I give them all of my attention, all of my focus. Even when we're not on calls, I'm, doing research for them in the background. So I take on a little bit of a different approach than a lot of the coaches and mentors that I see out there. But yeah, I mean, you have to have that trust and show up for the meetings on time and be ready and have your work done and,
hmm
be honest.
yeah. So like, let's say I was going to hire you as a coach. What does the general process look like for us as
The general process in terms
like
of,
what is the general process of like take me through like what you would normally do in a coaching scenario, mentoring scenario.
yeah. So, I have basically a whole curriculum that I've already created based on my past 20 years of experience.
I got you.
And so that's already created. But then what I do is I customize it to where that person is in their business, what's going on for them at that time, what's going on externally in the world also. It's all these different nuances and factors. So what we'll do is if they're in the position where they're kind of like a clean slate and they're ready to start with the curriculum, we start with, for example, online presence, right? Then if other things come up or they have questions, specific questions, like I have a photographer who said, I have this dream client who is having a destination wedding in Italy, and I would love to work with her, but I don't really know what to say, and blah, blah, blah. So I'll walk them through the steps of how to communicate, with the potential client, but also how to communicate the value of the services that they provide, so that they're able to, be much more likely to sign that client.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. Um, let's switch a little bit and talk about the business side for you. What would you say like has over the past couple of years has worked well for you in terms of like putting your message out, getting new clients, that sort of thing?
Yeah, sure. I would say, it depends on if we're talking about like my business versus my client's business.
Your business is fine.
Yeah. So what I've found works, and it took a long time to get there.
Doesn't it always, that always happens, doesn't it?
It's always longer than you think, or it's super easy. I don't know. I find it's always one or the other.
It's always longer than you think. That's a given.
Yeah.
It's always
So
harder and longer than you think.
exactly. Yeah. And that dedication has to be there, you know, and
Yes. Yeah. You have to have persistence for sure. Yeah.
mhm.
So anyways, what are you going
Self-motivation
to
is
say?
huge. So yeah, so what I find is what's working right now is really a combination of what I also teach my clients. And that is, you know, online presence. It's, you know, discovering what makes you really unique. And I know that that's kind of thrown around there a lot.
Yeah.
But we go really, really deep into, you know, what it is that makes you unique, like specifically. And then the ideal client exercise, you know, a lot of times they'll have these sheets where you fill it out and you're kind of like making it up and it's pie in the sky. We go through the market research. So, you know, literally looking at all of your competition, looking at all of, you know, what's going on in your specific area or local market.
That's great.
Um, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
glad you do that because I think that's missing from the business general exercise. You know, large
mhm,
companies do it all the time, right? They're always looking at the market and they're always looking at their competition. And it's not because they're trying to keep a little, finger on them. They're really looking
right,
for what's missing. What are the opportunities in the market that they're not, that my competitors aren't serving, right? Or,
exactly.
I'll give you a great example. Like all you have to do is go read a bunch of reviews that are not on like the wedding websites. And
Yep.
you can see pretty quickly where customers are falling, where businesses are falling down and making mistakes. And then that's
Hmm.
a perfect opportunity for you to capitalize on something that consumers are frustrated with. So,
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
know, yeah, I'm glad you do that because I think that's really key. It's actually more key than like creating this fake ideal client. You need, I mean,
Right.
you can create this ideal client, but if the market doesn't support it, then there's no purpose,
Right.
right? Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So we, you know, we spend a good amount of time on that. It's not something you can do in an hour or
No,
two.
it's not. It's a long exercise. Yes.
Yeah, but it's fascinating. I mean, at least it is for me. I don't know if, you know, everybody agrees, but you just learn so much by doing that and taking the time to do that. Um, so, you know, like you said, finding the gap, finding what's missing, where the opportunities lie, so that we're able to create a real strong message that helps you to stand out from, you know, from your competitors.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't even like to call them competitors because I believe there's plenty of business for everyone to go around. But that's, you know, most
Well,
people understand that
I
term.
think another way to look at it might be alternatives. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
because yeah, I mean a lot of people especially in the event industry, right, they share, they work together closely, they share customers with each other, like if they can't do something, so there's a lot of
Exactly.
relationships that are like they all working together, right, to produce the event. But I would look at it, but I mean, there are people that you don't run in your circle, so those are
Right.
competitors. There are alternatives to what you offer. Those are competitors. Not necessarily your direct circle of friends or people that you connect with all the time and share business with.
Hmm.
Those are not the people you're competing with. You're competing with
Right.
everything else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So we look at all of those, you know, it's the big picture. It's not
Yes.
just who you think of typically. Um, so yeah, so I would say that's a big piece of it. Obviously coming from a sales background, relationships and networking, that's never going to change.
Right.
Um,
That's super
regardless.
key in this business. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's still working. It's just, you know, now I'm finding it online through Messenger or like, you know,
Yeah.
how I found you, that, you know, you were doing this podcast and videos. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's just great to reach out and meet new people and see how you can help each other, really.
That's right. Yeah.
And then, you know, for me, a big part of what grew my wedding business years ago was SEO. And I know social media is the hot thing right now, and I 100%, you know, believe it should be used. But the core foundation is SEO, because, that's your property. Your website is your property, and, Instagram, Facebook, anything can happen. Could shut down your account and you've lost all that.
Yeah.
So we go into, doing the market research again on, the most important key phrases, long-term keywords, everything that you would need to be able to rank higher in Google. And then obviously that also applies to things like Pinterest. It applies to, other social media platforms. Obviously Pinterest is not a social media platform. It is, a search engine, but a lot of people don't realize that. So, the copy that's on your website obviously helps with that as well. And I find a lot of my clients need help with that. And I know I did originally too. So learning how to write really good blog posts that are keyword rich, but not too much, that fine line. So that you're able to
take balance.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, I would say mindset is a huge thing. When I was getting started in mentorship, I said, who am I to go out there and teach this?
Yeah.
But what I've learned is that people really need my help, and they come out of the woodwork when you put yourself out there. So whether it's somebody like me who's mentoring, or you're in your wedding business, or whatever it is that you do, it's having that mindset of not having imposter syndrome, not feeling like you can't do this, that you don't have the right to charge what you need to charge, to really make a good living. Because I find a lot of people are underpricing themselves a lot, and I think that's really important. And then there's the mindset around selling itself, because people hear that word and they're like, oh, icky, oh, I don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah.
But understanding what selling is really about and how important it is, so that when you have leads coming in, you're not losing them because you're not communicating in a way that allows that person to understand what you do and how you can help them.
Yeah.
And then the actual, communication pieces of selling itself, having those conversations and interactions, whether it's on email, now Messenger, and then on the phone, it's so important. And that's, what I love. I love talking about and help people kind of get past those hurdles of like, oh, sales, yuck.
Yeah. No, that's always a challenge. Yeah, for sure.
So that, and then Facebook ads, Facebook and Instagram ads.
Yep. Yeah. There's a lot of people there, so you got to go where the people are, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
What would you say, like, flip side of speaking of challenges, what would you say is like your biggest challenge over the past couple of years? What have been your biggest challenges?
Gosh, that's a good question. I would say my biggest challenge was learning all the things I needed to learn and like I said, getting through those times when I felt stuck and I was like, I don't know what to do next. I don't know what the next step is. I don't know how to fix this. It wasn't until I actually hired my own mentor where I took off. The traction was just immediate. I went from 0 clients to 2 weeks later, implementing those things, having her hold me accountable to, two new clients in 2 weeks.
Wow. Yeah.
So, and I had wasted I spent thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of dollars on courses and other coaches, and it didn't pay me back at all. The return on investment was not there until I actually found the right mentor. So
yeah, good. If you had to go back and tell yourself something 3 or 5 years ago, what would you go back and tell yourself?
I love this question. I would definitely tell myself to do it afraid and take action. Just do it.
Yeah. That's a good one, because we are, that's the reality is we get we start questioning ourselves, right? You can have an idea, and you overthink it and you over design it and you just,
Right.
next thing you know, you never do it.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the key is just to go do it. When I was, honestly, I mean, this is a great example here. When I was thinking about these interviews, and I started doing them at the beginning of this year, 2020, I was thinking about them in November and December. I'd already started kind of brainstorming and throwing this together. And um, I, kept questioning myself, and I kept like, well, what are you doing? And what are the questions you're going to ask? And I'm like, well, I don't know what all the questions I'm going to ask yet. So let's
Right.
just go do it and see what happens, and it'll evolve. And so that's exactly what I did. I went and I did it, and I've done, oh gosh, you're probably in the 80s range
Wow.
that I've done
Wow.
since the beginning of the year. And so, yeah, I mean, it's great. It's been a fantastic experience. I've been able to tweak questions over time, been able to, build some really good relationships and learn stuff from people, and then be able to share this interaction, not only about what you do as a business, but the things that you've, done, and then be able to share my own insight and help, hopefully helping other people be able to get through this thing we call business, right? So,
Yeah,
um, anyways,
exactly. So
yeah,
true.
good
Baby
stuff.
steps. I always say baby steps.
Yeah. So what would you say has been your most inspirational or best story, business story you have over the past couple of years?
Yeah. So I would say, I had a client who, where do I even start? She was very, very overwhelmed. She had a toddler. She had come from a corporate background in advertising. She's a photographer, and she wanted to move into weddings. Still doing some commercial photography and whatnot. But she had a toddler. She had no idea what step to take to even really get started. I mean, she had a basic website up, but she wasn't getting any clients at all, through
Yeah.
other methods than referrals, which, referrals are obviously, they're gold,
Yeah.
but, at some point you have to move beyond that to,
You do.
keep
Yeah.
the business moving. And so, she was just completely overwhelmed, didn't have any time, but she made a commitment to herself to, she signed up for my program. We worked together, and she showed up and she did the work every single time she showed up. And she, we found ways to make it work around her family schedule. And her husband was working 100, hours a week. And
Wow.
she had this baby, and they were all living in this tiny little apartment. But she found a way to make it work. And what I found was that she was hiding behind her computer. She did this beautiful, beautiful work. And it was like, I looked down and I said, oh my gosh, you should be,
Hmm.
you should be charging like triple what you're charging. You should be booked solid. Didn't see that in herself because she didn't have the, specific experience. She's like, I'm not sure if I've done enough.
Yeah.
Anyway, so long story short, she came out from behind the computer. She started showing pictures of herself, telling her stories, really connecting with her, dream clients. She was looking for higher end clients. And like I said in the beginning, actually, it's the same client I'm talking about. She wanted this destination wedding in Italy because she wanted to get paid to travel and do what she loves. And, through working together, she was actually able to make that happen. Won that client, and she actually doubled her price. And the client was, felt like they were getting the value that they
Yeah.
wanted, but she was getting what she wanted out of it. And then she and her husband got to go,
Yeah.
fly to Italy and enjoy their time together.
Nice.
So it's just, a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I see her now continuing to grow. So not only grew her business, but she also grew personally in her confidence
Yeah.
and her ability to put herself out there. So
Yeah. That's awesome. Great story.
yeah. Yeah.
Jen, thanks so much for doing this. Really appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.